Yeah, well,
Oscar, what's happening?
all good here. How are you doing?
Good, man, good.
Or should I say, Staradish? Yeah, all right. Everything good there with the family and all?
Yeah, everything's good, man. We're just enjoying a nice little Sunday morning.
Nice.
Um, yeah, things are a little quieting down around here as the holidays are approaching.
Yeah. Are you
How
having
about
something?
yourself?
Yeah, also, I just had a small trip to London and now I'm back just having the Christmas holiday with my parents.
Oh, that's
So yeah,
good.
that's
Wow, how
awesome.
was London?
It was cool, yeah. It was a good experience to see all the streets and all the
Hmm.
characteristics they have there. So yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
All right, then this is the Meet the Peoples series that we started here in Instagram Live with the Revolutionary Fitness. So we're gonna always introduce some new people's trainers that we have around the world. And today we have Ernie or Ernad with us today. So yeah, you
Thank you
can
for
tell us a
having me,
little bit
man.
more. Yeah, thank you for being here. So
Yeah,
tell us
thank
a
you.
little, yeah, tell us a little bit more about your story. How did you start? Because your background and how everything started for you.
Sure. So in terms of fitness and in terms of training and things like that, um, I do share sort of a common thread with a lot of trainers. I've been active most of my life. You know, you grew up playing sports. And it's something that I always enjoyed, but as a kid, I didn't really see the big value and impact it had on me as I was growing up. But then later on in adult life, I realized the benefits beyond just having fun that fitness and training sports can give you. Obviously, there's a lot of health benefits, but it's also very social and very developmental as well. And then when I went to school, I went to college actually for business, and I thought that's sort of what I wanted to go into. But as I was learning, as I was starting to work and entering adult life, I found myself gravitating more towards jobs and organizations that dealt with helping people. And later on, almost 10 years ago, that ended up with me starting as a personal trainer. The opportunity came about. I met Sean through another friend, and it was at a time in my life where I wanted to work directly with people. I wanted to help people, but I also wanted to have more of a challenge, and I want to have some certain sense of freedom that wasn't just tied to one specific role. And that's sort of how it came about. You know, I got a general personal training certificate, started working at a gym in New York City, and I don't know how it is in Sweden, how it is across the world, but personal training in the US can be a rough world. It's easy to get into, and it can be a lot of fun, and it's a great job. But
It's the
it
same
also,
all around the world.
yeah, it's probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had certain challenges, but what kept me going was I had the opportunities to learn a lot of cool things. And with that came the opportunities to help people. And then as you help more people, that you realize that um, it really is a position where you can make a difference in somebody's life
Hmm.
as long as you put in the work yourself. So much like anything else, you know, like we usually tell people like, hey, you know, if you put in the work, you're going to earn the results, right? But
Exactly.
with personal trainers, it's the same. You got to put in the work to be a good trainer.
Awesome. Cool. And when you met Sean the first time and you heard about revolutionary fitness and the four pillars, how was the introduction for you? What was the
It was really cool. It was actually a very fitting point in my life. So when I met Sean, I was serving as an Americo Vista member with a nonprofit in New York City. And my specific role was coordinating a mentoring project between senior citizens in New York with organizations that had at-risk youth programs and such like that, mentoring programs. So on a daily level, I would travel throughout New York and work with these organizations, and you see the needs around the city for mentoring, see the needs around the city for youth to have activities, but also adults too. You realize how it's one thing to struggle and hustle when you're healthy, and it's very another thing to do the same thing when you don't have health. Then it really becomes a major challenge and pain. So when I met Sean and I realized that, wow, he really wanted to take a lot of great information, valuable services, things that exist in certain segments of the fitness industry, and spreading it with the people. So I was like, that totally makes sense. You know, people need health. I think access to health should be a human right. You know, like, it's 2018. It's not that complicated to live healthy. I think when you know, but sometimes when you're in a position where your access is, for whatever reason, impeded, and you're not even aware of it, that can be a very tricky situation.
Exactly.
And I think, you know, through RevFit, through the work that we do, through helping each other in relationships and just good training, we can really help that. We can get healthier people. And out of healthier people, you usually get a better society as well.
Exactly. And I also felt like the beauty of Revolution Fitness is also how we can get strong together. So it's not just me training for myself, it's how we together can create a stronger community.
Right. It's revolutionary at this point, right?
Exactly. And after New York, because you moved from there, right?
Correct. So what happened was my wife at the time, she was pursuing graduate school, and she got an opportunity to study at UCLA. So then we moved to Los Angeles, which also was kind of a fitting thing to, like, you know, you have to live in New York, go live in LA, balances things out. And then in Los Angeles, I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Mark Chang and taking a few of his classes. He himself is a very excellent health and fitness professional. Like, you know, he's very unique, to say the least. And it was also an exposure into what else health and fitness can be. You know, when I first started, especially because I was young and the way I was training, you think, okay, strength training, just sort of this little box here, and you got to get good at that. And these are the only ways to do things. And if somebody isn't doing one system and doing something different, then they're wrong. I had a lot of those perceptions that I think we get out of the information that we see most of the time is very judgmental because of the sales process. Like, right? Somebody, when they try to tell you something, they got to say this is the best thing ever, everything else is bad. And that creates a lot of confusion and misunderstanding with the people in general. So in LA, I had a chance to really learn so much more, really see how deep the field can go. And it's also where I really started focusing on kettlebells and learned some very significant principles. So Sean introduced me to kettlebells, and I fell in love right away. But in LA, I took time, and, you know, before when I was younger, I would train like just one day this, one day that, which is cool. Like, I had a lot of fun. But then later on, I was like, you know what? I really want to get good at one thing. So let me just focus on one thing at a time.
And that became the kettlebell.
That became the kettlebell. It was a very practical thing.
Yeah.
We would move around a lot, and for somebody who doesn't have like a settled home base, the kettlebell is ideal.
Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with it. You just need to be creative and know the movement, how you can combine them together.
Right. It gives you so many possibilities.
Yeah, cool. And what's your favorite type of training right now? What's your focus right now?
Right now, actually, I'm bringing it back to the TRX and the kettlebell, mostly because we have a baby girl, and I watch her throughout the day. So I don't have a chance to spend much time in the gym. And it's the easiest sort of solution because I can do it right at home, you know, like when the baby goes to sleep or if she's around playing, I can put in some sessions. So that's in terms of strength. In terms of just like learning new things in education, almost 2 years ago, I started learning some martial arts, and that's been really, really interesting. Like, really I'm sorry?
Which one?
It's a little bit of a mix. There's a school here that teaches some Filipino, Southeast Asian arts, as well as Bruce Lee's JKD. They're also linked to the Nasanto Academy out west on the West Coast. And, you know, just these are all systems that are been around for a long time. And you see them how they're taught today, but you also see the lessons from the past. And that's just been interesting for me to see at this point in my career how these certain skills are taught and also what skills are taught. You know, because strength training, no matter what tool you use, has a lot of similar principles, and you're always going to have the same discussions. In martial arts, because the objective is somewhat different, the solutions are a little different, but that means the teaching solutions are different as well. But when you look at them both, they can both help us to learn and move better.
Yeah.
And so that's just been like on a personal interest of mine for close to 2 years now, and quite fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also a real cool thing with martial arts. If you take out the fighting stuff, and you
Mm-hmm.
just focus on the movement, it's like a meditation, like where
Mm-hmm.
you just go into the movement, how you're gonna twist the feet, how you're gonna turn your upper body together with the lower body. So yeah, it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mind body there.
Right, right. The connection is, yeah. And that's sort of actually where I'm at today when I work with people is what I've realized when I have success with somebody. I used to think it was the tool. I used to think it was a particular exercise. But then I realized it wasn't really about that. It was the person had a chance to learn something good.
Mm.
And that really is the sort of task then for personal training for me right now is what good can that person learn today? What good can they practice today? Um, because good movement, good training, good exercises, they simply add up.
Mm.
The bad ones do too. So if we can simply guide the person to, like, it's not about this is right, this is wrong. It's just a matter of what's good for you today.
Yeah, just the feeling where we are on our mind and our body right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. And if you could describe training in general, if we take out of this commercial fitness uh, picture of training, how would you describe training for a person?
I generally link it mostly to learning.
Mm.
Training, I think what the words here sometimes can get switched up, but the way I see it, training, you're conditioning either a skill, you're conditioning a response, you're conditioning the capability to carry out a task. Um, it would make sense to pick a task that has some relevance or positive benefits if you want to train it. But to be honest with you, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Sometimes you can train something just to explore it, to see what it feels like. So I generally link training to learning, and then I link the learning to what do you need to learn today. So that we talked about, like, what's good for you today is the question becomes, well, if your goal is to move better so you can live better, what tasks should we focus on? And then when we learn those tasks, we can condition them so that in your daily life, these become very easy tasks. If your environment is competitive and you're saying, well, I need to train so that I can have a competitive edge, then we can say, well, what lessons can we
Mm.
teach you or can we teach your body in such a sort of environment? What can we simulate here where your response then when it comes to the competition will be appropriate, will be controlled if need be, will be safe if need be, or will be amplified with power if need be.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a
Yeah,
great.
thank you. What
This,
about you? How do you describe training?
well, for me, training it's all about uh, feeling safe about your body on your natural environment. So if it's on some work that you do, you need to feel safe that your body can be able to do the work or the movement. Or if you do a lot of carrying on your work, that you can do the opposite of it, so you can do more of your work, so you can be more able for that.
Hmm.
So it's a lot about how you um, feel secure with your body in your environment.
I like that. I like that. That totally makes sense. Yeah.
I also know that because I haven't gone through your kettlebell certification. I hope to do it one day. But I also know that you talk a lot about breathing in training and
Hmm.
the movement from babies. Also,
Yes, yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes. So breathing and groundwork. The groundwork piece, I was sort of starting to get exposed to with Dr. Chang quite a bit in my
Mm,
career, and then later, around the same time, I started learning about the functional movement systems,
mm,
and I took a course with Dr. Perry Nichols from Stop Chasing Pain, and I would see
mm,
similar themes, and it made sense because these professionals are also all linked together as well, and had certain professional links themselves. So there's a lot of common influence. So at first, when I first started training people, my idea was I want to have some challenging workouts. Like I want to be the guy that's like, oh, this is like cool, this is exotic. The stuff that like, you know, makes people go like, wow, like it looks like it burns, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then like when I started, I realized that doesn't really, one, that isn't a good idea for some reasons, but for the biggest reason was that people didn't necessarily move well in the first place. It wasn't anything like major, but you know, somebody would have an ankle issue, somebody would have a shoulder issue. They would manage it on a daily basis with, even if they were active lightly. But if you would load them to a certain degree, like challenge them, that certain spot would definitely come to play up, come to attention. So I realized that before we do all these crazy things, like it's important to make sure that the person can wholesomely and comprehensively move well. And that's sort of when the groundwork started. And the groundwork came because what I realized was this seems to be the most effective solution we have to this challenge of we forgot how to move. Like, you know, we learned how to move when we were kids. We all played. Yeah. Even these days, as electronic as kids are, they still play a lot and move well. But then as adults, as soon as we get sat down in a chair, we usually start to lose it, unless we're gifted or athletically, you know, minded, and then we stay with it. But then most of us kind of forget it. So I realized the ground is a great place to learn. And then as my career was widening or deepening, so to speak, I also saw that a lot of the problems that people face were stress related. This wasn't just an issue of you don't know how to hinge at your hips, or like you forgot how to hinge at your hips, maybe some foam rolling, maybe some, you know, stretching, maybe some hinge work and they'll be better. A lot of the times is they live in an environment that is very high stress. And before they can even learn, before the training can sort of be absorbed by the body, you have to bring down the body to a calmer state.
Yeah.
And often if somebody has movement restrictions, so if they like really tighten the neck and they like can't raise their shoulder, when you do just some breath work with them and they can relax, you might realize there wasn't really a movement restriction per se, the way we think about it from a muscular standpoint. It really was an issue of what sort of state is your body in? So sort of a few years ago, then I realized breathing, because it is simple to do and highly effective, you should just do it.
Yeah.
You know, you can put in 2-3 minutes at the beginning of your training. If you're consistent with it, sooner or later I was going to pick up some lessons about yourself, about how you move, just about certain little things. Very valuable, because if nobody tells you some of those lessons, you might not pick them up. Then the groundwork, same thing. Everybody has access to the ground. If you know what you're looking for, if you know what to do, it can be a very effective, very simple, but just comprehensive solution.
Yeah, because when I do some ground movements here with people, as soon as we start crawling, it's just so difficult to them doing right with left and left with right, doing this crisscross pattern. They can do it if they have the knees on the ground, but as soon as we lift the knees up the ground, then we can a whole nother level. And yeah, it's so weird to see like some fundamental movements that we did when we were a child to be able to walk, we all forgotten after a while.
It speaks to the body's adaptability. And you've probably heard the concept of use it or lose it.
Yeah.
So, usarlo pedirlo, right? So the body is really great at that, but we don't really think about what that means on a daily basis. Because like you are right, in general, a child will crawl before they walk. And there's a saying too, crawl before you walk, before you run and all that. So from a developmental standpoint, crawling is important because, as you point out, it has this really, really crucial contralateral coordination that goes on. That also happens when we walk, right? Because usually you see like the opposite arm leg movements going forward. So that's where that pattern repeats. So it's necessary for us to learn the pattern. But as you see, you could be walking for 20 years straight, but if you never crawl, as soon as you go down on the ground, you don't know how to crawl anymore because you don't use it, so you lost it. So that's actually why I love the groundwork as well, because if you come to me and you say, okay, I want to learn kettlebell movements, like, well, what kettlebell movements do you want to learn? Well, I want to be able to squat and press. Okay, great. Let's see a squat. And it doesn't look that good. We're like, all right, well, maybe the squat doesn't look that good. Let's see what you crawl like. And it doesn't look that good either. Then we have an idea of at least 2 entry points where we can sort of attack the same pattern. Because squatting and crawling are actually very closely related if you just look at the angles. So groundwork gives you really a lot more options to train somebody's movement. Because otherwise you could say like, okay, let's do TRX squats, let's do ball squats, let's do kettlebell squats. That might be too much load for somebody that doesn't know how to squat. Yeah. But if you put in some groundwork and then some squats, you might be able to teach the body how to move toward the same pattern in different planes. That can be magic if you know how to essentially moderate it.
Yeah, that's so cool how the body immediately feels that, okay, we're doing something wrong. We need to do another pattern now to not feel this way. So, yeah,
right.
We just need to listen to what the body says to us. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where the breathing comes in, if I may link it back to that.
Yeah.
The reason I teach breathing, like, primarily is we've also forgotten how to feel the body a lot of the time, because we just move so fast and we're just so focused on, finger movements.
Yeah.
We forget that there's a rest of the whole thing. So when you learn to breathe and you're conscious with your breathing and you start doing these exercises, what happens is you really start to feel where the weight is shifting. And that's crucial, because the body's either going to manage the weight unconsciously, just like, okay, I'm going to just put it here. So like when you walk and you don't think about walking, it just happens. Yeah. But if you thought about it, you might find a better way to walk. Now, you can't do that every step you take throughout the day, right? But that's how we have training time. That's set for improvement in the process. Like, let's improve these patterns so that outside of the training time, we can just do them easier.
Exactly. Yeah, because I can sometimes when I walk, I can think of how I walk, but then I just forget about it. I just walk. But it's also important to have these moments where I can be on the moment and feel how my feet are touching the ground, or how they are stabilizing the whole body on one leg before I step with the other leg. So yeah, we need to bring it down from time to time.
Yeah, and then what I think happens is a lot of the times we want to train things that we can do, but we want to load either like do from a long time, or we're going to put a lot of weight on it. If you don't, when you go into those higher threshold situations and you don't have that conscious connection, what's going to happen is the body's going to make those automatic choices for you. So sometimes you see people swing and the swings don't look that good. It's almost because they're throwing the bell up with their hands, right? Because that's just sort of inherently their reflex. But when you start being conscious, you realize that, okay, this isn't an efficient movement. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I have another question here for you. Other than being a trainer, a people's trainer, or a kettlebell instructor or educator, who is Ernie? What do you do for a hobby or in your life? You mentioned that you have a wife and you have a kid as well. So,
wife, kid, dog. Between those 3, that's pretty much life right now. Because the baby girl is just 6 months, so it takes up a lot of time. Really just an explorer otherwise. I think that's kind of how my life has been. Lived at different places, met a lot of different people, and then they kind of got in my blood. So now I love learning different things, practicing different things. As I get older, I stick with them for longer. I used to be able to bounce between things faster and faster, or used to at least be attracted to that. Now I'm attracted to more studying them in depth. But Ernie is just a constant evolution, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes, like I was telling you, when I went into college, I had this fixed idea of this is what I was going to be doing, this is what I'm going to be studying. But then when you realize, in life, every day you have choices, much like in training. And I think that's kind of what, when you figure it out, you can get at. If you just push yourself to training, but it doesn't feel good, you're going to end up with not feeling good. Understanding how to make those choices that so to speak, are the right choices, which is contextually driven. Right choices is for the person, they're safe, like you were saying, they're appropriate, and they're the ones that will give you a better result. Those choices can be difficult to make because we often think to ourselves, well, I'm this fixed person. I need to make this choice that's in alignment with this. But really, when you start feeling your body, you realize, you know what? One day I can make this choice, one day I can make that choice. It's a context-driven situation. So,
Yeah, that's so true. Sometimes we just go with a frame that we need to be a type of way, but no, we can make a choice from day to day.
exactly.
That's cool. Cool. That's awesome to hear from another person also. um, what's your thoughts on people's trainer? Why should we have more people's trainer around the world? What's your opinion on that?
So my general belief is that, healthy people, healthy will differ from person to person. But I think we can have a general standard of, what healthy means. Being able to move freely, being able to physically move, being able to physically express yourself is part of health. Which then also is linked to mental health, because the body and mind are one thing. So I think health is very important for us to function as natural human beings, primarily. Just the first thing. From there on out, if we live in a world where health is limited, especially if it's limited if it's limited on a purpose basis, then we need to really fight back against that. Because for us to have a good world, we need to have a healthy world. And that's just the beginning of it. Which is, what kind of has kept me going in this industry as you realize on a day-to-day basis, it might not seem like it's a big thing to train a person, it's a big thing to train a group, it's a big thing to train 20 people. But it's sort of like, it always sets a beginning, sets a seed that something can grow out of that. If this year you train 100 people overall, 3 of those people next year might want to train more people and share that gift, share the health, share the knowledge. And I think this is where people's trainers come in, because currently a lot of health, a lot of fitness is commercially driven. And to be honest with you, most people caught up in this game don't really want it to be like this. Even if you made it, so to speak, in this industry, that's still a hustle, a struggle, and you still probably had to face barriers that limit you, So I also personally think to limit somebody on purpose is inhumane, but a human thing really is to help somebody else in whatever their journey may be. And then as people's trainers, you get that chance. It might just be a little workout, but to that person that can make a difference between I had a bad day to I had a day where I learned something. It can be a difference from I don't want to talk to the world to oh, you know what? I helped this person lift this weight. I can see myself cooperating better with other people and making a positive change. So yeah, I think people's trainers, man, I love them. I hope to see a lot more of us come out of the journey and make a positive impact in the world.
I like that description. People's trainer to be helpful to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a stronger world.
Yeah. And the last question I have for you, what's your vision for, let's say for next year now, 2019, that's coming next week?
2019. So my current challenge professionally is I want to figure out how to teach better, how to reach more people, how to cause that more positive change. But also from a systems perspective. So in the last 7 or so years, I've learned a lot. I've got a lot of experience, and I have sort of a system in place that I use. I've seen what works well for people. I've seen what doesn't work well for people, and I'm in a position now where, it's kind of tough to be where you look at this industry and you see people do some wrong things, and you realize it's not because they want to. It's just an unfortunate ignorance. It's nobody's responsibility, because you can't just put that on one person.
No.
But if I can create better information, if I can sort of provide a door for somebody to come through and learn about health, learn about fitness, I'd like to do that. So my vision for this coming year is basically to understand how to better funnel my knowledge and create something that gives people the access to it and creates the positive change we talked about.
Cool. Great vision. Great goal to
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
Hopefully it brings us together as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you want to come over here or we can meet somewhere else.
Yeah, we need to figure something out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And train together.
You got it. You can show me some of the bag stuff.
Yeah, I love to show you the Bulgarian bag. It's awesome. It's really fun. I think you will like it.
Definitely.
Cool. Do you have anything else to say to the people in the world here?
Help each other, love each other. It's all good at the end of the day, with support, with learning. Yeah, just earn it one day at a time, man.
Cool there. You heard it from Ernie, and follow him on Instagram if you want to get some more inspiration on kettlebell or TRX or anything. Just hit him up and he will answer
Yeah,
you.
we'll hook it up.
Yeah.
Thank
Cool.
you, Oscar.
Thank you for
Pleasure
this.
talking to you.
Yeah, likewise.
Peace, man.
Have a good day. Bye.